Welcome back, everybody, to another Digital Gate Studios production. Jacob, had to have you here with me because this is kind of our child.
Dude, I love this deck so much.
This is a fun one that we've put together. We were at Locals the other day, and we were looking at some of the cards, and I just got done playing Ulforce, and I was like, I don't even remember how it came up.
It was like between one of the rounds. I don't know. I was sitting there talking with Basil, I think, and you like came up and you guys like, wait a minute. Ulforce 0.
Yeah.
And we're like, what about it?
Well, it's something that I've looked at before because if you guys don't know, there is a hypothetical situation with Ulforce Vidramon 0, an old promo card that we got a long time ago.
That nobody played.
Nobody played. I've seen a couple people make lists a long time ago when the arena first came out because you can hypothetically unsuspend Ulforce Vidramon 0 as many times with one arena on board, and we'll get into the combo in a little bit, for every time you have 3 cards in trash.
Yep.
The question is in blue, how do you get 3 cards in trash? How do you cycle your deck? You know, how do you do all these things consistently in one deck and make it consistent?
I think we spent about a week finding every way of getting cards in trash.
Yeah. And blue
without adding purple.
Yeah. So blue's kind of tricky in that regard. But we'll get into the deck list and we'll show you some new cards that came out, specifically some LM cards. That set just keeps giving more and more gems than we expected. Shout out to Publamon. You see a deck that I made called Clown Car. There's a deck from Jeff that he's using Publamon in.
There's a card of the week recent, too.
Card of the week recently. Quantumon. There's all these LM cards that when we first open that set, you're just like,
yeah. What are these?
What are these? Okay. And then you start looking at them and their relevancy, and we'll show you how it works in this deck. But let's get into some of our eggs, because this is an OTK deck. And by OTK, this is a true OTK deck. We're swinging 6 or more times in one turn and hoping for the best. We are playing 1 Bukamon. You would think that you need this egg to win, but you don't, because we have lots of instances of jamming. This is just the easiest one right out of the gate.
We figured out some ways for redundancies just in case.
Absolutely. And sometimes you actually kind of want the Wanyamon, because one thing you want to do a lot in this deck is draw, because you are pitching a lot of cards.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to draw a lot of cards to replace those. So the Wanyamon is a great once per turn. Grab 1 more.
Yep. And you guys, the 3 eggs is kind of weird. Trust us on this. You will not even use 4 eggs. You probably won't even use 3 in this list. And also, it's really funny seeing your opponents scratch their head when you say you have 3 eggs and ask them to cut them.
2 I found to be borderline problematic sometimes. 3 is kind of a safety net.
Yeah.
So we run 4 of the LM Jellymons. So this card is really good in the deck because it draws you a ton of cards. You do actually, if you are in a pinch and you're trying to find cards to complete your OTK stack, if you need to promote turn 2 and gain that extra card draw, it's not the end of the world, because you're typically not going to be moving out till turn 4 or 5.
And it's a
OTK.
decent hard play too. If they don't, remove it, which there are a lot of ways, but at the same time, like, is it always worth it? But if they don't, you're going to be drawing a lot of cards off.
You'll be able to get that extra card draw at the beginning of your turn and get a little bit of chip damage. But the most important part of this card is the inheritable. When attacking, not once per turn. If you have 7 or fewer, we're drawing a card. Very good.
Very good.
We are running 2 of the BT11 Vmon. This is going to be your searcher in the deck for 2 of your 4 ofs that you need in the deck. This will grab your Ulforce Vidramon 0, and this will grab your Arena. It will also grab your other blue Tamers if you need them.
Was 2 really enough, though, if you need those cards so bad?
There's a lot of other things that grab those, but having a Vmon... So the thing that kind of birthed this deck, too, is if you guys haven't checked it out, check out the Black War Greymon Ruby OTK deck. Basil and Justin put that together. That is an awesome kind of inspiration for this deck, because I wanted to be like, okay, well, what can I do in blue to have a similar
same thing
effect?
with purple.
And that deck,
tuned.
that deck plays a whole bunch of Agumon searchers, and this actually grabs exactly what you need to complete your stack a lot of times.
Makes sense to me.
So talking of jamming redundancy, we run 1 Betamon as a just-in-case rookie. So just to get that jamming, the on-play does not come up because we do not play it by effect, but having that jamming inheritable, if you do happen to have the Wanyamon or Bukamon and they have a bigger stack than you, the Betamon comes in handy.
Makes sense.
So that's our rookie lineup. We run a total of 7.
Just enough.
Just enough. We run even less level 4s because, like I said, we are doing a ton of search. We are setting up a ton of boosts and trainings. We're setting up memory tamers because we want one big turn. So you don't have to run a whole lot of Digimon if you're trying to set up a lot of extra memory boosts. So we run 4 of the Tesla Jellymons. Looks probably a little bit familiar. Has the exact same inheritable as the LM Jellymon.
If you can't tell, we need a lot of cards in here.
We are gaining a lot of cards in hand.
Swing, draw 2, not once per turn.
Yep.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. So we are drawing a ton of cards. Ton of cards over and over again. You're cycling your whole deck multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not the whole deck multiple times, but you're cycling your whole
you
deck.
Theoretically could.
More jamming. Redundancy, we're running 1 Betamon, or 1 Seedramon to pair well with the Betamon. So more jamming inheritables as a just in case. This comes up when it comes up, and it comes up huge when it does. So it's not your preferred level 2. You definitely want to mix and match because you do want to have one of these in your ideal stack at least because you want to be able to cycle cards in your hand.
I think if your stack's Buka, Beta, Seedramon, I think you just push out and start over. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or even sometimes if you have the other instances of jamming that we still have that we haven't revealed yet, pushing out a Betamon with a Wanya underneath it, you swing, it dies. Who cares? You're still getting that card draw and setting up for your next deck. So you're good to go there. So the star of the deck. Your awesome contribution to this deck is your vast experience with 1 Cerberusmon. So we were talking about how do we get cards in trash and blue? And you're like, well, what about Cerberusmon? And I'm like, thinking about your Lilith, your OTK, or your Lilithmon deck, the Minerva Loop deck, yeah. And I was like, werewolf mode, like I don't think that gets it because I'm thinking purple. And I was like, oh, yeah, there's this Cerberusmon from BT1, and it actually does purple things.
Jeff and I used to play this in early days.
So we swing twice per turn. We're trashing 3 to unsuspense. You're getting your first 3 checks, ideally with jamming, with your Cerberusmon, and you're adding 6 cards to your trash for your Ulforce Vidramon 0.
Which is going to be
to finish it off.
Should be enough after boost and training, plus whatever security was hit.
That being said, I will jump in and say that this deck is a play fast deck. This is a beat your opponent 2-1 deck because you're not always going to get the cards that you need every time, but we're playing odds because this deck will 95% of the time have jamming when it swings. If not, if you hit something and die, chances are you might lose, but you go to that next game pretty quick and you see if you can race them again.
And this deck's just so cool to watch that happen, you know, where you like get the whole stack. You're like, all right, swing, draw 2, pitch 3, unsuspend. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. And then you do it again.
Yeah. Just the opponent's like, what is happening?
Yeah. Getting the third swing with Cerberusmon with jamming. And every time you're swinging with Cerberus, you're drawing cards over because you get to choose your when attackings, the order they go in. So always count your cards first. If you have 6 or less, you're good to go. Go ahead and draw your 2 first. If you have 7, then you definitely want to probably draw 1, get to 8, trash 3, unsuspend, and then you get to draw your other one.
Yep.
So
now you get your 3 checks jamming. Your opponent still has 2 security. They think it's over.
You drew 6 cards.
You drew 6 cards. Yeah. They think it's over now. So what do you tell them?
Now you tell them I'm going to Evo into Ulforce Vidramon 0.
And what does that do?
That returns 3 cards from your trash that you just put there with the Cerberusmon to your bottom of your deck, and it unsuspends and gains a memory. So this 4-cost Evo is actually a 3-cost, if not cheaper with said Renas. So you're setting up for your OTK turn by swinging with your Cerberusmon in your OTK turn already. So it's kind of something that your opponent's not ready for. You're going to take game 1 most times because they're not going to be able to. They're not ready for this because they see you let them hit your security a bunch of times. You're down to 1 or 2 security.
They're feeling good.
You just have a body and raising. You're setting up boosts. You're playing Tamers. It looks like you're bricking. But in the meantime, you're setting up, you have a Cerberusmon, a BT1 Cerberusmon sitting in your raising area.
And even if they ruin mode, it's still a 1K.
It's still there. It's still
with
there.
Jamming.
Yeah. And so you're like, they're like, okay, well, what's this thing going to do? I'm about to win next turn. I got 2 blockers on board. I got a ruin mode out. I'm ready to go. Well, you're going to do well. So we do play. Let's get into the Tamers. We got to get into the arenas. The arenas fit immensely well in this deck because you need to find them.
Yep.
The good thing about the arena too is as long as you have it out, when that Cerb-Zero unsuspends the first time, you're going to gain a memory for every arena you have out.
Yep.
So just synergizes really well. It doesn't have to just be out when the Ulforce is out, but you do need this for your finishing swings with the 0. So very important to have one of those on board.
You only need one.
You only need one because Ulforce, Veedramon 0. If you don't know the interaction, and I have to explain this all the time when you're playing this deck, and you will too if you play this deck. So the way Ulforce Veedramon 0 works is when he attacks, he suspends, right? When a Veedramon suspends, you can activate Arena to activate its Windigivolving effect, which will return 3, and his Windigivolving effect actually unsuspends himself and a Tamer. So that's why you only need one Arena to activate this. It's not like the BT11 Ulforce where every Arena you have gets you an extra unsuspend and swing because you're playing Tamers. This literally unsuspends the Arena that lets you do it again and again.
Until your trash runs out.
Until your trash runs out. But when we did the math, it turns out because Cerberus puts 6 in your trash, you only need to contribute 3 cards to your trash to get that swing or to get OTK status if they just have the normal 5
And some of that they'll give you by hitting.
They're going to hit things in security. You're going to pop boosts. Those will end up in your trash. You're going to play Hammer Sparks. You're going to jump into a whole bunch of things. So we get there really, really easy. We play 3 Davis because starting at 3 is pretty important in this deck.
Yeah.
Also important in this deck is the search. So that's kind of the next phase of the deck that we're getting into is search because we have to find every piece to make this go. The hardest pieces to find are your 5s and your 6s and your Arena. So that's kind of why we play the VMon, because the VMon will search both of these. We play a lot of other things.
Search is on play, and it's an extra search every turn until you're ready to go.
So this, and the another important thing is this comes out of security and still searches. So that's the really important part is you are waiting until your opponent is almost at lethal the next turn before you push out and do your OTK because you want to have as many.
As long as you're not dead, you're still in the race.
Absolutely. You want to have as many pieces as you can. We play 2 of the promo Kyoshoros. So this is your other instance of jamming in the deck. So we have Bukamon, we have Betamon, we have Seadramon, and as long as we have a Jellymon in our sources, this will give us jamming. So we are getting redundant upon redundant. Yes, because we're doing what we got to do to stay alive. But you only need 1 on board. So if you have a second one, it's a good pitch target.
Yep.
Which is another good thing to note is
no dead cards.
No dead cards because everything is a pitch target for Cerberusmon. We run 2 Analog Youth. This card I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. I started at 4. I feel like 4 was too much because it ends up trashing like your Hammer Sparks or your boosts or things that you really need. Your Arenas are really bad to trash. Your Davises are really bad to trash. This is a card because you do need as much search as possible in the deck. And considering we're already at 4 and 4 for boosts and trainings, which we'll get to in a minute, this is all we have left.
Yep.
So you could run more VMons if you want, but you really want something that's going to search out of trash. This also lets you kind of start your stack over if somehow you do die in security to an option or for some reason you aren't swinging with jamming, which is terrifying. You do want to be able to kind of start over. So
makes sense.
Analog Youth at 2. The thing about this deck, too, is that it needs a lot of memory for that OTK turn. So basically, all you're doing is setting up for your one big turn. So you are stacking Hammer Sparks in hand. The best part about this card is it's something you definitely want to mull away from, I should say. This is something that when you are swinging for your OTK turn, you're going to find these.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're drawing 2 cards. You're drawing 12 cards on the way to win. So you're drawing a lot,
right?
A
but
lot,
early
a lot
game,
of cards.
You need those Digimon and those searching.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also very good out of security. It's going to really slow your opponent down. It makes them kind of prolong their math and their OTK or their win con.
And it also helps if you just didn't find Davis.
It does indeed. So we are running 4 trainings and 4 memory boosts because we need memory. We need to get up there as fast as we can. The funny part is, too, about the mental trainings is every instance of mental training you have is more you kind of surprise your opponent, because if you have a full set of mental trainings on board, you can promote from your level 3 in OTK and get in there and be just fine. You can promote, you can draw one off the start of main, and you get to go and get your stuff going. Mentals are great because obviously they grab everything in the deck except for the analog youth. They're kind of your preferred method of search. But blue memory boost is obviously your dig 4. It's if you can't find the VMon to search, you're using this to find your Cerberus and your Ulforce. So really good. One thing I found in the deck when I was kind of shuffling away from the analog youths was always being 1 or 2 memories short for that OTK turn, because the Ulforce Udramon is still a 3-cost Evo. So if you, for some reason, you have to go early and you don't draw the exact card you need, you still need as much memory on your board as possible to search, to find it, to get there. So we do run 2 Howling memory boosts. And these are really good in the format because they slow your opponent down. They slow down those Ukos. They slow down the levies. They slow down... They slow down the Death X, anything that's swinging that doesn't have a ton of sources, or if you need to...
Sword defeat?
There's that too. There's all kinds of good stuff that this slows down. It also strips sources. So if they're evoing over those aces, it gives you a little bit of rebuttal and also sets you up for your OTK turn, because now we have 6...
Like that's the best part about blue right now, is stripping out an opponent's ace from their stack.
Yeah, that's good.
Not even touching the stack, just gaining memory for free.
Being able to lock down, because one thing your opponent's going to realize by game 2 or 3 is that they're going to be able to swing with their rookies and probably live. Because they're going to be hitting all of these trainings, boosts, tamers, all this crazy stuff, and they're going to stick on board. So what you're going to want to do is just make sure that when they're setting you up, you're ready for that big rebuttal and show them what's up. Next, we have 2 Mad Dog Fires. I know this is a Jeff favorite because this is a BT1 card, and it fits with the Cerberus. This card saves you from a lot of things. Yes, we are swinging with jamming a lot of times, but there are a lot of options like Crimson Blaze that are very, very popular nowadays, very strong, and sometimes you need to be bigger than 6K. Also, if you are swinging and they have blockers on board and you don't have our next option available, you need to swing over the blockers. You need to make your Ulforce 18,000. Mad Dog Fire will get you there. Also, out of security, it fits the deck really well because it adds to hand and draws you a second card.
Love that security effect.
Super good. One card I was messing with in this slot was Boring Storm. It helps filter your deck, but it's kind of just a moot point. 1 cost.
It's a weird card.
1 cost, draw 1.
If it's not in security, it's kind of a dead card.
Yeah. It just gives you something to do, but you just end up with another card in your hand, so that could be anything else. So I really like Mad Dog Fire because out of security, you're netting 2 in hand, and it sets you up because a lot of times if you want to control the board, if you don't have the pieces you need and they have 2 suspended Ukomons and a suspended Numemon on board,
get them out of there.
You can promote your Cerberus and do a little board control too, because you can swing over all 3 of them in 1 turn. And you can do that to bigger bodies if you have Mad Dog Fire in hand. So good card. We do run 2 of the high-speed plug-in because we need to be unblockable. This card shocks people when you play it because they think they're safe with those blockers. You don't see this card very often in the format right now unless you're playing against a lot of Sakuyamon players.
What I find really funny about this card is like the jamming, because it's a keyword, is in the red. So they if you skim it, you just catch jamming.
Yeah.
And then it has all this reminder text, so you stop reading.
Because you think for 2,
it says more.
Yeah, you think for 2 jamming would be enough, right?
No, it's got more.
Yeah, it's unblockable, and also it has the same effect as Mad Dog Fire, is that it draws 1 and adds to hand.
Effect.
So it fits the deck really, really well. Get you some cards in hand, and if they hit it in security, you're gonna get it.
Oh yeah.
And then of course we play 1 Ice Wall because we are trying to slow our opponent down. If we need to let them think about what they're doing for a turn and put them in the corner, we're gonna we're gonna play Ice Wall.
And it's another card in trash for 1.
It's another card in trash for 1, which is another thing to say about these Mad Dogs and these Ice Walls. If for some reason you're playing a deck that recovers and they're at 7, 8 security, this deck is okay with that because 3 cards is minimum for a 6 swing. Any 3 on top of that is another swing.
Yep. And between, you go Hammer Spark, Ice Wall, Mad Dog, that's 3 cards for 2 memory. Well, 1 if you include the Hammer Spark.
Yes. So one thing that people are going to bring up is what do you do when you hit security options? And the answer is you might lose, which is fine.
Start over.
Because if you think about, we're playing numbers, right? We're playing ratios.
Yep.
And outside of security control, in which you would play this deck completely differently, go watch our security control how to beat it video. Basil did an awesome job with that. In which case, we're playing bodies, we're hard playing bodies, and we're not doing what we're normally doing.
Hard play for 6.
Hard play for 6, swing. Hard play for 6, swing. So security control, you're not playing this deck in this fashion. But in decks where you do hit a security option, if you think about the ratios in those decks, and if you're thinking about what are the odds I'm going to hit something that's going to kill me, if you're playing, we're playing in the English format, so we're playing best 2 out of 3.
Yep.
So we're playing the odds 2 out of 3 times. 2 out of 3 times, they're probably going to have all Digimon in their security.
Yep, and if they're playing red hybrids, all you got to worry about is finding Mad Dog Fire.
Yep, just get above 6K with your Cerberus, or you're not going to have time in red hybrids. But in other decks where if you are worried about certain things like that, there are instances where you can set your trash up with enough to Evo into Ulforce and then just go from there.
I love watching this deck, though. It's so much fun to see it go off.
When it goes fast, it goes really fast. So this is it. This is my version right now. I might make a couple changes. If you guys want to play a really fun OTK, this is a true OTK deck.
Oh, yeah.
This will swing 6+ times in 1 turn.
I've seen it.
Yep. If you want to put this together and you see any changes, let us know in our Discord. The link will be in the description below. I think this deck's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to hear other people try it out. So thanks for joining us. Thank you again.
My pleasure.
And,
I love it.
We'll catch you guys in the next one.